I gotta tell you, today is Wednesday. Last night in my head, I planned a show that I was going to do, and it was going to be on Epstein. And off the book that my very dear friend John Connolly wrote. Now, who is John Connolly? Okay. John was one of the best investigative reporters ever. As a matter of fact, we've been looking on YouTube and others. All right, they're putting up. He died shortly after he wrote a blurb for the back of my book over here, "The Accidental Gangster," from insurance salesman to Hollywood fixer. All right, we got somebody, Caroline from North Carolina, and it says this is Michael. All right, Michael who? I know a lot of Michaels. But let me read the blurb that John Connolly wrote. Orlando Ori Spado had been a thorn in the side of the Los Angeles field office of the FBI for almost 2 decades before they finally took him down. Accidentally or not, Ori was the quintessential mob character, complete with a picky ring and a slow, steady, deliberate voice, whether speaking with friends or foe. But like so many other good fellas, he was set up by a friend's son. You'll have to read the book to find out who set him up. Enjoy. John Connolly, author, New York Times best-selling true crime book, Filthy Rich. And John was an amazing guy, former LAPD detective. And I got the book here. I read the book. It's called Filthy Rich. James Patterson and Michael Connolly wrote the book. Actually, it was John who did it from all his research because he was investigating Epstein. All right. Uh, when Epstein had the criminal case in Florida years ago, and it was me because John reached out to me. He was looking for victims, and I found two girls in the West Palm Beach area of Florida that were victimized by Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm looking for the book and I can't find it. And I got books all over the place. I got a lot of bookshelves and so forth. And I asked my son. My son don't have it. I think, did I give it to somebody? I don't know. But as I was going through my books, I found another book that I gotta be honest with you, I never read. Somebody gave me this book. All right, the most evil mobsters in history. So I decided, I says, let me talk to my people about this. Evil. This book was written 2004, all right, by, what's her name? All right, Lauren Carter, okay? I have not read this book. I got a lot of books that I haven't read. People give me books all the time. Some I read, some I don't. I got my favorite author that I do read. Hello, Anthony. How are you? Watchdog. Okay, Afghan Khan. Most evil masters in history. Now, this book here, The Most Evil Monsters. And of course, let me read them to you, who they say. Now, I want you folks to leave me a comment whether you ever heard of these people. Joseph Bonanno, Al Capone, Paul Castellano, Frank Costello, who I knew, Carlo Gambino. You ever hear of Carlo Gambino? Anybody? Please tell me. Okay, I would like to know. I got another reason for that. Vito Genovese, Sam Giancana, John Gotti, Sammy the Bulldog Gravano. Y'all heard of him? Meyer Lansky. I knew Meyer. Meyer was a friend of mine too. Lucky Luciano, George Moran, Dino Banyan, Chicago's Arch Killer, Dutch Schultz, and Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. All right, folks, they're saying all these people were evil. They were all gangsters. I was a gangster. But you know, folks, I'm going to tell you something. All right, I want to tell you what the definition of evil is. Okay? Because you're evil. I know I'm evil. Okay? So let's talk about it. And then I'm going to tell you about the people they don't talk about who are the most ruthless in the mob, and you never hear their names. So stay tuned to the end if you want to hear this, please. And like and subscribe. Evil is generally defined as profoundly immoral behavior, wickedness, or actions that cause deliberate harm and unnecessary sufferings to others. It represents the ultimate violation of ethical boundaries, human rights, or spiritual laws, depending on the context. The concept is analyzed through philosophical and psychological and religious. There's two broad category. Moral evil. This refers to wrongful action intentionally committed by moral agents such as murder, cruelty, or theft. So then there's the shadow. Carl Jung proposed that evil arises when individuals refuse to acknowledge their own internal flaws and darker impulses, projecting their shadow onto the outside world. Does that make sense to you? Does to me. Lack of empathy. Modern psychology often links deeply harmful actions to conditions characterized by a lack of remorse, systematic cruelty, and a profound indifference to humanity, to human dignity. And there's another thing. You're evil if you have moral thoughts, immoral thoughts. You're evil if you think that you don't like this person, you want to do some bad things to them. You're evil. So, folks, what I'm saying here, okay, at the end of the day, we are all evil in some ways. Some take action, some don't. Most don't, okay? Now, me having been a gangster, having been in the life, yeah, I get pissed off sometimes at people, and I think what I really want to do to them, okay? But I don't do it, okay? And I'm not going to share those thoughts of what I think about because I guarantee you, none of you could even think about it. Hey, you remember your age, act accordingly. All right, who's that? Heidi Helly Bencher. Like to have a conversation with me sometime. Okay. You know, folks, I do have conversations with some people. All right. I don't have the time to be having conversations. I'd love to be able to converse with every one of you individually. If you get to Los Angeles, okay, and you're in the neighborhood, you let me know and we'll hook up. Okay. But, you know, I may be 81 years old, but I'm a busy guy. All right. But you see all the names they listed. These are the names, the books have been written. All right. You got you got Sammy the Bull. He's on YouTube. Okay. You got all these other rats that are on YouTube. And they all took an oath. They took an oath not to break the oath. But every one of them guys that you see broke the oath. So if they broke that oath, what else are they willing to break? Does that make him a good guy, a bad guy? In my book, I don't want him around. Okay? I take an oath that I never broke in my life, and I never will. And I don't even discuss with my children what that oath was. I got to tell you, it was for the United States government. I could tell you that much. Okay? A lot of different oaths. You take an oath when you go into the military, and then you take other oaths for special assignments and things. Okay? But, I never became a made man. I didn't want to become a made man. Why? For what? I was my own man. Yeah, I was friends with all these people, but I was my own man. But yet, when I got arrested, I went down with a Colombo crime family. Okay? I never read on nobody. I could have. Could have not done any time. Okay? But I went away and I did my time like a man. Because that's what we're supposed to do, folks. And we're living in a world today. Okay? I don't want anybody going into a life of crime. All right? It's not worth it, folks. You're going to get caught. Okay? Everybody's got the cameras. You got cameras all over the streets. Okay? Anybody who wants to go into a life of crime, that's insane. Okay? They are insane. And in my book, I write, if I could help one young person stay out of a life of crime, then my book was well worth it. I've helped several stay out of a life of crime. And for those things, for the good things that I'm doing, I'm very proud of them. All right? Somebody asked me, what's my story? My story's in my book, The Accidental Gangster. All right? Wander, how are you? Got the Wander here. Lovely, lovely person to Wander. God bless you, my friend. Agent Orange. Okay. And Agent Orange said, Ori still drive. Sharp man. Yeah, I do. All right. Well, I got to tell you a story. I picked my son up at the airport the other day. Okay. I swear to God, I'm driving good. But he's got that, Dad, you almost hit that person. Dad, you almost hit that person. I said, yeah, but I didn't. All right. Okay. I was hoping that Will was here. Will sent me a comment, folks. Something I was not aware of. Okay. And he checked out my YouTube channel. And I did not know this, but after I do the live show stays up there, which I love that, some people do watch the replay. But very few actually watch the replay unless they really want to follow me and they know that I'm out there and they'll go for it. Because YouTube does not, this is what Will told me, I didn't know this, all right, does not throw it in the algorithm, okay, after a live show is done. So he's telling me I should do more video. Now, when I do videos, I don't get many views over there, but he said I get a lot more views on my video. So I'm going to have to go check that out again, okay? But they keep those in the loop. Now, I don't understand technology. I'm never going to understand technology because I don't want to understand it. Okay? It's just befuddling in my head. But anyways, we're talking about evil monsters. Were these people really evil? Now I'm going to tell you what my opinion is. No. They were doing business. It was their business. It's how they conduct it and handle their business. Okay? So I don't see anything evil with that there. Now, I might be wrong. And don't be afraid. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. All right, folks? I could take it. All right? But that's just my thought. But they talk about organized crime, and you got Sammy out there, and Johnny Haylight, and there's Dominic Sicali, and others. They want to talk about who they killed, how they killed somebody, how they shot them up, how they buried them. Who wants to hear that shit? Not me, because I lived the life. I was with the real people. People that you never heard of, people you're never going to hear about. Those, and let's use the word ruthless, okay? They are the most ruthless. They'll go out, do a piece of work, and go to breakfast and keep it right down. Don't bother them at all. Well, who give me that $10 over there? Okay. Wanderer. God bless you, Wanderer. Thank you so much. All right. And folks, don't forget, subscribe, like, all right, hit that thanks button. Don't be shy. Okay? All right, don't be shy, folks. Okay? It's down there. You see a little dollar sign, I think. Right, Wanderer? I'm not sure exactly how it works. Okay? Uh, One song, Tony, what do you think about legalized gambling in sports? It took a lot of bookies out of business. Okay? And now they're legal. All right? I think it's a good thing. Where's hurting gambling is our youth because we got so much of our youth that are gambling. And elderly are starting to gamble because they can't afford to eat. So they want to try to make some extra money. Okay? But the youth is becoming an addiction. And remember, you got Alcoholics Anonymous, you got Cocaine Anonymous, and you had Gamblers Anonymous. Okay? I've been around a lot of degenerate gamblers, folks. Okay? And that's probably one of the worst diseases that you could have. So, me, thank God, I got the willpower. I used to go to Las Vegas. I would gamble. I would say in my head, I knew X number of dollars, and I keep it at that. I either win or I lose. But when I got to that number, if I was losing, I quit. Okay? Because I seen what happened to degenerates. At the Las Vegas Hilton, on Friday night, I was with my friend who was a pit boss there. Every Friday night, exactly at the same time, this old man would walk in with a cane, walk slow, walk slow. He'd go to the table, he'd put his money down, he'd turn around, he'd walk right out. Never would stay to see if he won or he lost. I asked my friend Frank, I said, who is that guy? He said, that guy used to own a large factory in Cleveland. He started coming here, loved it, did all the things, was comping everything. They sent the private plane for him. He kept coming back. He ended up losing everything. Everything. He lost his factory. He lost his wife, his children. He lost everything, folks. Huh? You know, And now he lived in a little hotel room someplace, and he was the janitor of a place, and he got paid on Fridays. And that's what he did with his money because he was addicted. I don't know whatever happened to him. He must be dead. That was many years ago. But I wanted to share that story. All right, folks. So who you think is evil is up to you. All right. We all like, I don't think it's people as being evil. All right. I just don't. They could be bad or they could be good. All right. Daryl James Cole, hold up, brother. Love, just 'cause you got arrested, that don't make you a bad man. Don't listen to these clowns. Are you talking to me, Daryl? I don't know who you're talking to. Okay? Folks, doesn't Mandy do a great job? I got to commend her every time. Okay? She, boom, right there on time. She's awesome. Keeps the trolls out. And, I love coming to you. Although I'm a little tired now, I'm going to be honest with you. It's 5 o'clock. And, I go to bed in a few hours here. All right? But I like the crowd I'm getting. I do the evening, so I'm gonna try to do 2 shows a day. Tomorrow is Thursday. I'm gonna try to take the day off. Okay, right, Mandy? We take off on Thursdays, huh? All right. Hello, Jay. How you doing? Buck Carrier. How old is? What was the first car you ever owned? A 1962 Chevrolet Super Sport was the first one. All right. Thank you, Storm. I appreciate it. So, folks, these are whoever wrote that book that Laura and Carter thinks are evil men. They were businessmen, each and every one of them. Did they do bad things? Yes. But bad things was part of the business. Tell me I'm right or I'm wrong. I was watching something. I had to be up there for a while. For those of you who are in the gangster world, okay, somebody did a thing, the history of it, and they're talking how Joe Colombo, how he became the boss of the Colombo crime family, how he got shot at Columbus Circle, okay, and but how he became boss. Now I want to share this with you, okay, because when I was in life, especially around Sonny Franchise, we used to meet at a diner every morning, whole crew. And then after the crew, Sonny would talk to everybody individually, and he would always say, any of these guys, they're doing something wrong, you got to come and tell me. Huh? I would never do that. If I go and tell Sonny, huh? Yes, I know Kenny Joe Merlino. Okay? I call him Joe. All right? Yes, and I saw it. Uh, but that's a form of ratting. See, you heard me say earlier on, maybe you all missed it and weren't around then. Okay? I said, ready, becoming an informant begins at the top. Water runs downhill, not uphill. Okay? It begins at the top. Now, why am I saying that? Now, how did Joe Colombo become the boss? Well, there was going to be a hit from Albert Anastasia, okay? And Carlo Gambino was going to be one of the people on that list. And Joe Colombo was going to be one of the hitmen. What did Joe Colombo do? He went to Carlo Gambino and told Carlo Gambino about it. So Albert Anastasia ended up getting whacked instead. And Joe Colombo, they made him the boss of the Colombo crime family. Now, to me, that's a form of ratting. Do you agree or not? All right? Oh, hell bencher. All right? Very intelligent what you just said there, my friend. Okay? The only way you get away with crime these days is if you become a part of the government. Look what's going on, folks. You're being robbed by your Congress, your Senate, and your president and his cabinet every single day. And it's just not this president, it's every president has been. These folks are the real gangsters. They are the real organized crime. Guys like me, compared to them, we were Cub Scouts. Yeah, they do worse than we ever did. We didn't hurt people unless they needed to be hurt. We didn't rob people who didn't have money. We didn't scam people who didn't have a lot of money and could afford it. Yeah, I conned a lot of people out of money. But you know what? The money I took, it didn't hurt them because they had plenty. You know, there's right and there's wrong. You know, Steve Hilton is getting close. Maybe he'll be the. I don't think he'll become the governor. Quite honestly, I voted for him. I'll tell you, I'm right up front with you and honest. Okay, I don't bullshit you and I don't lie to you. Okay, and you're not going to get anybody else anywhere on YouTube who's going to be like me. I guarantee that. Okay, but you know, Karen Bass will become the mayor again in Los Angeles. But let's talk about something happy. All right, my friend Roger Tannenbaum was running for consul here in Beverly Hills. And last night he had a party at his home. I met some beautiful people, okay? And I got to tell you, Roger's a lawyer, his brother Billy's a lawyer, and his father was a lawyer. His father was with the district attorney's office in New York. Then he moved out here. He became the mayor of Beverly Hills twice. It's a really good family, nice kids. And so Roger introduced me to a guy named Herb Young. And this guy who was sitting down, he got up and we're talking. He said, "How long you been in Beverly Hills?" I said, "I've been out here 50 years. All right. And I'm looking at this guy, I'm thinking he's my age, maybe a few years younger. Okay. And I said, "How long?" He says, "I moved there in 1952. I said, "What? 52? I was 8 years old." I told him, I said, "I'm 81. How old are you?" 95. Folks, I'm telling you something. This guy, great shape, 95 years old. All his marbles, he's got everything there. All right. He's like me at 81. Okay. And I was just so amazed. We had a nice conversation. You know, he told me he was in the Korean War. And, you know, I told him little stories. I was with the 25th Infantry Division. So we had a lot in common. Nice guy. And it was a great party. And boy, they had a lot of food. Okay. They had a lot of food. And me, I don't stay long at these events. Okay? Half hour, that's a long time for me. Okay? And I only drink water. I don't drink. And I didn't have nothing to eat. Uh, I'm in and I'm out. Say hello, say my hello, pay my respects, and that's it. Because I am 81 years old, folks, so I go to bed early, I wake up real early in the morning. But, I wanted to share these things with you today. I'm going to find that book and I'm going to talk to you about Epstein, how I found two of the victims for John Connolly, who wrote the book, Filthy Rich. All right, folks, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Hit that like button, okay? I come to you respectful, honorable. I expect the same. I appreciate you all. And that's about it for today, okay? Not going to keep it for a long time. I'll be back Friday. Everybody have a great day. All my love and respect. And as usual, don't forget to do something kind for others. And Ori Spado guarantees you that it'll come back to you tenfold. Thank you all. Take care.